Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Sam here, United People's TV, and we're here for another busy stack show. I'm not sure if you noticed, but we signed the Ligt and Mazraoui last night. I'm not sure if you noticed, but there's lots of noise around Sancho and PSG. I'm not sure if you noticed, but Ugarte's agent, Jorge Mendes, is in England in talks with United. He wants the move. Seems like PSG want the move to happen, and United certainly do, at the right price. We've got another stacked show. To say that Manchester United are having a busy and largely successful so far transfer window, I think, is an understatement, but it's also not an understatement to say I think this window will not be a success unless we sign a central midfielder. That's how important I think it is. I'm going to run through everything this morning, talking about everything related to Ligt Mazraoui, Wan-Bissaka's move to West Ham, a little goodbye, his message on Instagram yesterday. Luke Shaw, we'll have a bit more of an in-depth conversation about him after the news yesterday from United. We will speak about Sancho, Ugarte, McTominay and Napoli. And there's a few other things as well to run through. Wow. I mean, MC down there saying it's a busy week. It's not been a busy week. It's just been... July was busy. But I always felt like August was going to be pretty relentless. And I think it started now. The football starts in 2 days. And there's still a lot more to happen after that. Jeez. Who's here from the mod gang, from the member gang? Thank you everyone for tuning in last night. It was a really fun stream, wasn't it? Carl, good morning to you. Alex and Anuj. T, I saw you at the start of the show. Josh, you're there too. Klein and Jason, how you doing, buddies? And who's here from the member gang? Teresa, good morning to you. Bernard, got Illuminati. Look at that. We've got the whole Illuminati in the comments. Great. John Hammond, you've got Will Ireland, Kenny, Akash, Fizz, Paul, and Toby. And on Facebook, Stephen Lawrence, good morning to you, dude. Carl Oliver, Chris Wynn, Nick Greenwood, and David Carroll. All the chat is working perfectly this morning. It's nice when that happens, right? You know the drill by now in the show. Please fire your comments in. Please fire your questions in. And if you can, drop a like on the video and enjoy yourself. I can see that 88% of you have so far on that little... It's quite fun to do a little poll for the show. Why not? Now, can we just sit here for just to point and laugh at this? It feels like every single day I just come here and I'm like, what are Chelsea doing, sort of thing. Oh, look, okay, great. They've just given Cole Palmer a contract extension until 2033. And by the way, did you see Wan-Bissaka's contract? I think he's got a 7-year contract as well. So West Ham going down that same route. I mean, it's the loophole, which I think has been closed from a certain perspective. I think only 5 years are counted on the amortization, I think, to do with PSR. It gets more complicated. But anyway, all of a sudden, Chelsea giving another contract out till 2033. I can't wait until they fold. Can't wait until they fold. Anyway, move on. Did you see this morning? I wish I could play this on this show here, but this is getting a slap down for copyright for playing, was it Born Slippy? Man, it's a banging tune. Just a really... How do you say... Is it Barry Keoghan? Keoghan. Any Irish in the comments? Let me know. I'm going to go for Barry Keoghan. Probably completely wrong. Anyway, it's the Adidas. I have to say to Manchester United this season, I say to Manchester United, to Adidas, they've nailed it. The 3 kits, they've nailed it. The promotion around it, it's lovely, and that's like an Adidas Originals video. Go and watch it. It's on Manchester United's official Twitter page. It's good. But that there, it's Cobby and Brian Robson just sitting there having a chat on the sideline. Yap Stam's a linesman at some point. It's a class video, man. I think actually United's promotional material, United on social media this summer has been noticeably better. Someone there is telling me it's Keown. Oh, I can't be called Keown. I remember when I met Martin Keown in the airport in Turin. That was after... Fun story here. So before we kickstart the show, I'll tell you the story. That was when I was in Turin when United, under Mourinho, beat Juve. Juan Mata scored the free kick. Deflected and went in. And we all went out and partied in... we kind of partied in Turin after. I was just walking up to random people in Turin. I was like, have you heard the news? Have you heard it? They're like, what? I'm like, Man United have come behind to beat Juventus 2-1. For some reason, I found it really funny. And I was doing it all night long. And I'm surprised I didn't get punched, actually, by anybody in Juve. But the people of Turin were quite pleasant with me. Anyway, I got to the airport. And I saw Martin... Next morning, and I saw Martin Keown in the queue in front of me. And I said the same thing to Martin, have you heard the news? He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, Man United have come from behind to beat Juve 2-1. And he just looked at me and he goes, what do you mean, do you know the news? I was commentating on the game. Of course I know the news. Anyway, Keon didn't take it very well. Miserable git that he is. Alex, super chat, send a super chat. It's a very random story. It's just a bit of a segue. If you had to pick 2 out of these 3, who would you pick? Ugarte, Hanko, and Tony. Ugarte and Hanko is who I would do. Who I would choose out of those 2. I don't see, my personal opinion, right? My personal opinion. I don't want Ivan Toney in the club. I just don't think that what he wants and where he is mentally and wants to be the main man, I don't think that's the centre forward that we need. I think it would clash with what we've got going on here. Just a personal opinion. Arbilon saying, Jim Ratcliffe said that we have 50 million to spend this summer. We've spent a lot more than that. How are we able to spend this much? I'll run through. I've done all the numbers. Obviously, the caveat I say every single time is that although the numbers I've got on the completed transfers board are all correct, we're not spending all of that money this summer. We don't actually know how much has been put on an outlay. Like the De Ligt signing will be split over 3-4 years. Same with Mazraoui. So the actual outlay is going to be a lot less this window than what the numbers suggest, is what I would say. So that's part of the issue. That's part of the reason why we've been able to spend more. Ashok, thank you for gifting 5 memberships, dude. Right, let's get into the start of the show, really. Okay, well, I say at the start of the show. We've already started. Another little photo's been dropped. Little cheeky Mazraoui and De Ligt side by side. This was the photo for me which stood out last night from the announcement. I said it yesterday, but I found it really strange how Man United decided to announce De Ligt and then announce Mazraoui like 25 minutes later. I'm just going to presume, from a cynical perspective, they decided that that's how they would get more engagement out of the signings on Saturday. I don't know. Maybe not. I think it was all set up. Everything was ready, certainly, for a double signing. But they just decided that, they're not going to do that. But De Ligt, he's our number 4. We got that confirmed last night, and we also got this confirmed. Mazraoui is going to be the new number 3. So 2 new signings in, already trained yesterday, already in the squad environment. Will they be fit for Friday is the question mark that everybody has. Maybe not. We'll find out a little bit later in the week, probably from Erik ten Hag, although I'm guessing Erik ten Hag would keep that close to his chest. And we don't need to spend another 20-25 minutes talking about De Ligt and Mazraoui, but just as a final, I suppose, bit of excitement from the transfer, I'm really looking forward to seeing him play for United. I am really looking forward to seeing De Ligt play for United. And I think Mazraoui, I think when we were first having talks and negotiations with him, I think Man United were looking at him, and Ten Hag was looking at him as like, right, this is a really good bit of squad depth, okay? He can play left back, he can play right back, he's competent, he knows the style that we're aiming for, this game plan. And I think that's probably why he was being brought in, but I actually think he's going to end up being more of an important player for us than I think he realises, than I think we planned for. And it's because Luke Shaw's injury. I suppose it's kind of a perfect time to quickly speak about Luke Shaw's injury, right? I was going to mention it later, but I mean, you may as well mention it now, right? This is the last season that Luke Shaw will be a Manchester United player. All right? Truth be told. It's going to be over at the end of this season. Manchester United simply can't continue to be frustrated that Luke Shaw's body just can't cope with the physical demands and the rigours of Premier League football, of elite level football. And of course I've got my sympathy for Luke Shaw, because I mean, the injuries have dictated his career, unfortunately. But That's the end of it for me. Luke Shaw won't be going. I've seen people saying, oh, Man United should be just shipping Luke Shaw off this summer. It's like, well, do you not know how medicals work? Like, you literally can't. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't because he'd fail a bloody medical. Luke Shaw's not going nowhere this season. I don't think we could. Don't think United would anyway. But I'm just done and dusted, man. Fullback is too important a position, even in like not an average team, but just in your regular Premier League team. The importance of the fullback over the last few years has massively developed, right? But especially at Manchester United, because we play with the inverted fullbacks. Because we try and go into a back three when we're pushing up, and our fullbacks really aggressively push forward and help the fullbacks for Man United and our style and our game model are even more important. So Luke Shaw, I mean, we are going to be starting this season with Malacia out for the foreseeable. We don't know when that's going to be. And we've got Luke Shaw, who's going to be missing and probably going to be back for the international break and probably going to be fit for England. And there's going to be a lot of people that I just kind of like downright pissed off about that. Got himself fit for the Euros final. Can't make himself fit for the first game of the Premier League season. I mean, it is a little bit sus. Come on. It really is. Even if you're not a cynical person, it still is a little bit sus. What are you saying down here? Is it Alfie Doughty? Was he Luton's? Was he Luton's left back? Hey, look, there's going to be plenty of available left backs. I don't think there's going to be a shortage of them. And fingers crossed, this is going to be the season where we see Harry Mass come through. Now, Harry Mass wasn't in the game against City, wasn't in the match day squad, which I found quite surprising. But Harry's going to have some opportunities this season. You won't get a better opportunity. Like, in terms of pathways, Harry and Mass couldn't ask for anything more than that. Somebody's loss is somebody's gain. That's what happens in life. It's cutthroat life, and football is cutthroat. When somebody gets injured, somebody else will get an opportunity. Martial gets injured against Midtjylland. What happens? Marcus Rashford comes in, scores two the next week, and all of a sudden he's got a breakthrough. Boom. Hopefully, the same thing will happen with Amas and with Luke Shaw, but realistically, I think it just means, as I said, the importance of Mazraoui coming in is kind of heightened. Mazraoui is going to be starting at left back. I think so anyway, by the way. I think it'll be Mazraoui left back, and I think it'll be Delo at right back. What are you saying down here in the comments? Now, I can see that there's a lot of frustration towards Luke Shaw, man. And I've shared that frustration. He's definitely going to go down. There are a few players in United's history, and I'm sure you can name some as well down there. Owen Hargreaves jumps to mind straight away. He was great in that first season when we won the double. And then injuries just demolished his United career. And then he just became really quite annoying. Remember that fitness video he did before joining City? Hargreaves. Phil Jones is going to be the permanent what if. Luke Shaw is going to be one of those players as well. What are the... I'm sure there are loads more. But certain players, their careers, they just get annihilated by injuries. And Luke Shaw is unfortunately one of them. 10 years he's been a Manchester United player. Martial, of course, is another one there. 10 years he's been a Manchester United player. And I don't know what his average amount of games he's played per season, but it really is awful. Really, really is awful. Anyway, back to the good news. That's Ligt and Mazraoui with their agent, Rafaela Pimenta, who took over from Mino Raiola. Great deal. I mean, it really, really is a great deal. 60 million euros for those two players, 25 and 26. It's not as if we've just signed players who are 29, 30, got a year or two, maybe at the top still. We've got a solid 6 years out of De Ligt. That's a cycle. It's a football cycle. That's enough to build a team around, build a lot around. Mazraoui, 26, still got plenty of years. Of course, injuries will dictate how successful either of these two people can really truly be, but we'll find out. Someone down. Let me see what you're saying on Facebook about the injured players. Fletcher. Did Fletcher have loads of injuries? I don't know. Can't remember him having that many. Don't know. Anderson. Oh, there's one. Jeez, Anderson. I loved Anderson. Also hated him at the same time because it's a bit annoying. But I enjoyed that from Ajax yesterday. Oh, yeah, let me show you this, right? It's a put a smile on your face. I think so, anyway. Ajax yesterday going, Manchester is red. And when you look at it, you can understand exactly why. All right, look at this bad boy. That's the wrong thing. We'll speak about that next. There's Onana. There's Martinez. There's Ligt and there's Mazraoui, all in their Ajax kits. And there's all of them down there in their Manchester United kits. Oh, yeah, Fletch had, what's it called? Ulcerative colitis? Something like that. I think it was called. I think that's what it was. I've already sort of explained how much I'm looking forward to this. And if this had all happened without Ashworth and without Berrada and we were just still signing Ajax players, I'd be massively concerned. But I'm not, because we've got Ashworth and Berrada and an actual vision and a structure making these decisions. It just so happens that signing these players, that signing former Ajax players actually ties into the game model that they are working towards. All right. What else saying down here in the comments? Halftime 100 sent a super chat. Thank you, dude. Saying fans hating on Shaw now after the horrendous injury he had years ago. He was lucky to walk again. Time to move him on, but don't hate on him. I'm not. I hope I'm not here sort of spreading hate. I'm spreading frustration at. I mean, it's happened again, and I think just United fans have just kind of lost patience. I mean, understandably, they've lost patience, and I look. It doesn't help Luke Shaw's case the fact that he was fit, didn't play any football between February and the summer, and he played in the Euro 2024 final, and then a month later he's not fit again, and he's done a calf injury, and he's now out again. So it doesn't help him, all right? It does not help him. Now let's move on, and there's plenty more that we need to speak about this morning, all right? Speak about Wan-Bissaka. The move was confirmed yesterday, and this was his goodbye message to everyone yesterday on Instagram. To everyone associated with Manchester United, that's really annoying. It's getting them right in the way. You helped me fulfill so many dreams of mine. I leave the club in memories. And look, Bruno's down there. Oh, Harry Pinero, how you doing? Ahmad, Hannibal, Eric Bailly, Mason Mount, Tedamengi, Sancho, Cobby. I think Wan-Bissaka leaves Manchester United a well-liked player, a well-respected player. And I wish him the absolute best in a West Ham shirt until he plays United, where I hope he has an abysmal game, embarrasses himself and scores an own goal. All right. That be the truth. I really hope he scores an own goal against United. But Wan-Bissaka going means this is how our whiteboard is looking now. All right. Now, as I've said to you, look at the top, and I explain this every time, so please don't keep commenting about it. These fees exclude any sort of add-ons, and these fees are just the top-level big numbers. They're not amortized across how many years the contract it is, because we don't know. None of us have access to this information. We don't know how much United paid up front for Xerxes and how much they then spread over the next 2-3 years. Typically, you go for a little bit of a bigger upfront payment and you spread the rest over a period of time. But on paper, United have spent 140 million. And on paper, we've made 48 million. So on paper, we've had a net spend of around about 90 million. Now, of course, that'll be a lot lower. All three of those will be a lot lower in terms of what's going out of our accounts this year. But you can see that so far, Manchester United, we've spent significantly more than we've made through sales. And that is where we shift. And that is a segue and a half. Because we need to shift. Harry is saying, have we actually signed Chido yet? We've not had the official announcement. He's done his medical, he's done all the good stuff, but it has to be ratified, I think, by the Premier League, which may take a couple of weeks. So we're just waiting for the official announcement, but he's in the bag, all right? He's in the bag. Sales. We move on to the sale that, I mean, this would be significant for United, all right? I'm going to explain where these reports are coming from and just explain the current position, I suppose, around Jadon Sancho. Because Fabrice Hawkins, who believe he's on RMC Sport out in France, was reporting this yesterday. That Jadon Sancho himself wants to sign for PSG, but Manchester United are asking for more than £50 million. No agreement could be reached. It's not a simple matter. And a little bit more info on that here. Right, it's the same thing, actually. A little bit more info down here, right? United have asked for more than £50 million. No agreement could be reached this week. And PSG are actively negotiating with United for Ugarte, which I will speak about next. But what's your prediction, ladies and gents, on what you think will happen with Jadon Sancho this summer? It took us all by surprise, took me by surprise, when I saw Sancho back at the training ground. From what I interpreted from Erik ten Hag, I don't think either of them really apologized to each other. I think it was just sort of like, should we move on? Right, okay, like that's last season. All right, let's just move forward. New fresh start, fresh energy, fresh environment. Let's go. Let's make the best of what we've got together. Ten Hag said, look, Sancho's an incredible player, very high quality, can play in multiple positions, and they move forward. But I didn't expect to see him back. And I've maintained, even in their reaction to that video, I would still like to see Sancho moved on. And at this moment in time, PSG are the only club who really have been conceivably linked with a move for him. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. What do you think will happen? A swap looks most likely at this point. I mean, a swap is possible. It feels like swaps only really happen in like FIFA and Football Manager these days. Kind of rarely happen in real life. They do happen in real life. Like Mkhitaryan and Alexis Sanchez was one. And there's some others that I can't remember. But it doesn't happen as much. But it may well be that Ugarte is a perfect one for this to happen. If we can move Sancho on, we go to the leaving whiteboard, right? And we have a look at all the active ones. I've changed Sancho to a level 2 now instead of just a level 1. PSG are certainly exploring a Sancho move. Whether that goes any further than a level 2, let's find out. All right. As it stands, I don't think it will. I'd like to be pleasantly surprised and pleasantly wrong. But Sancho would be a big one. And as everybody mentions in the comments, there is a possibility that you could look at Jadon Sancho going to PSG and Manchester United bringing in Ugarte in a swap deal, right? Now, let me bring you all the latest on Ugarte because we know full well the price that we've been quoted for him. Is it more than that? It might be a little bit more than that. Actually, let me write this on here because I think the price that we obviously the prices that we all put down here is like an approximate price. I think the price that we've been quoted by PSG is 60 million euros, right? Which is like, good luck getting that. But anyway, they want 60 million euros. Let me run through all the latest whispers and reports around. It kind of feels like I could actually do a kind of a full story on Ugarte, like a part 2. But I think I'm going to leave that for now. This is what's being reported, right? So, Ugarte is being left out of PSG's training matches by Enrique. I mean, Enrique doesn't want him. He is an unwanted player inside that PSG environment. They've got Jean Neves, they've got Vitinha, and they've got Fabian Ruiz. They don't want or need Ugarte, right? And we move forward. And this was yesterday again. Just ran through that. Fabrice Hawkins saying that United are actively negotiating with him. And this was Fabrizio Romano yesterday, saying that Jorge Mendes is in England to discuss João Felix to Chelsea, which is hilarious, but also Manuel Ugarte to United. The personal terms have got agreed donkeys ago. Ages. It must be like a month ago now. But United want that price reduced. It's always been a sticking point. We agreed personal terms so long ago because we wanted to sign Ugarte. But they won't reduce the cost. Now, an update from Fabrizio this morning. And this is where it might get interesting, okay? Manuel Ugarte from Fabrizio. Let's go full screen this one. He is insisting a lot that he wants to join Manchester United. PSG, United are still talking. Jorge Mendes is leading the negotiations. They're open, but the price is wrong. Right? The price is wrong. I wonder if there's any chance. Type yes or no in the comments here. Do you think there's a chance that Ugarte hands in a transfer request? It feels like people don't do that as much anymore. I don't know. I just don't think you see that many of them. If he was to hand in a transfer request, it gives more power to United in negotiations. Like, we've already agreed personal terms with your player. We know he wants to leave. He's told us he wants to leave. He's told you he wants to leave. You can't negotiate 60 million off the back of that. That's what it would give United more of an advantage in this potential transfer over the fee if he handed a transfer request. I can see lots of you think that he would. You've got Stephen, Dennis, Richard, Theo, and Ibrahim all Facebook. You all think yes, he could. And so does Wabos. We've got Ajit. We've got Saeed. Lots and lots of you on YouTube too. I don't know. I mean, if he does, it kind of, and he ends up staying at PSG, it puts him in a worse position. But if he gets that move, well, it's worth it. You know what I'm still hopeful of, and I did a video on it. I genuinely think if Manchester United are able to get Manuel Ugarte on loan with an option to buy, not an obligation, it genuinely will be the best deal of the summer. It won't be the best signing of the summer, but I think it will be the best deal of the summer. To get somebody like Ugarte, who may well not be the long-term solution in midfield, but tell you what, brings a lot that we don't currently have, and on loan, and without a fee, and with an option to buy. I mean, that's dreamy. Now, of course, there are other midfielders we are linked with, right? I can run through the names here. Sander Berge, 30 million is the price that's been quoted by Burnley, I think, so far. We're not going to pay that. There is no way we're going to pay that for Sander Berge. So that might not happen, right? Then you've got Fofana. If I'm being honest, the price is probably not 30 million there. I imagine you're looking somewhere in the region of 25 to 30 mil, right? Makes more sense on Fofana. And I'll speak about Fofana next, actually. You've got Richard Rios, probably the cheapest of all the options. That hasn't gone any further, has it? Ever since the original links with him came, there hasn't really gone any further, and this just isn't going to happen. Nor do I think that for £51 million we would need to say, whoever that midfielder would be, that's the midfielder that we see being here for a few years, man. That's him. And I don't think Zubimendi personally would have been that player. Now, I can see lots of you speaking about Fofana down there in the comments, and I'll speak about him next. Right? I'm pretty sure I heard very similar things from AC Milan around Joshua Zirkzee. And I'm pretty sure that Zirkzee didn't join them because he joined Man United. Now, I think I've made this quite clear on more than one occasion. I don't really see Fofana being the ideal balanced midfield partner for Mainu or Bruno. I can see more logic with Ugarte. I can see more logic even with Sander Berge. Fofana's more like another Mainu for me. His best work comes in the opposition's half. Good player, right? I do not think it'll be a bad signing in any way, shape, or form, by the way. But it'll be interesting. As it stands, it certainly looks like Ugarte is the player that we are pushing for the most, and we're in talks. His agent's in England. He wants to move. Will PSG come down to our price? Well, Bayern Munich did. So let's find out whether PSG will as well. And whether maybe, I would typically say that swap deals are very unlikely. But it really feels like this Sancho Ugarte one, kind of everyone wins. PSG get rid of a player that they don't actually want. They get a player in that they probably do need. They need more than... Who are they getting in? Desire Doué, I think they're getting in. As... I thought they were going after Kvaratskhelia as a Mbappe replacement, but I don't think that's gone any further. Don't know what's going on there. So for them to replace Mbappe with just... Was he 18, Doué? 18, 19? Teenager. It's not exactly going to be replacing Mbappe. And I'll be honest, I don't think putting Sancho in there is replacing Mbappe either. However, if they could get him on loan with an option or an obligation to buy, that would also suit them. So it might be one of those situations where a Sancho and Ugarte swap deal suits both squads. Apparently, so Ross is saying Conte blocked the Cavadias away. I'm not surprised. He is a baller. Man. Probably one of my favourite players I enjoyed watching at the Euros. Just, it's like the ball was glued to his foot. And he had power about him. Anyway, keep an eye on that Sancho-Ugarte swap deal. And also keep an eye on this one. Right? DiMarzio reporting that Man United have rejected a loan offer from Napoli for Scott McTominay. Which I'm not surprised about. I'm not surprised that Napoli, Conte... would want to go in for McTominay. I'm not surprised that we can go back to the leaving board here and we can see all the names linked. Fulham, Everton, Napoli, Brentford, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, all linked with a move for Scott McTominay. Tons of teams will look at him and say, professionally, physically, athletically, McTominay can add something into this team. And I like that. And that's why Conte's gone after him. I don't think United will be accepting a loan offer. If McTominay was to leave, the only reason we're going to let him leave is because we'll get the money and it will come off our bottom line because selling an academy player holds so much more value. There's no way that Scott McTominay leaves on loan. There's no way that Scott McTominay should be leaving on loan. So I'm not surprised to see United rejecting it. But going back here, that's a little bit of an advancement on the McTominay front. Sancho and PSG, just spoken about those ones there. Pelistri, no further movement on him. Anthony, I don't personally expect him to leave. So I think that's kind of going to stay where it is. Eriksen, I don't think he's going to leave either. So I think that will happen. That will stay there. Hannibal, I saw whispers suggesting that he handed in a transfer request. Haven't actually seen anybody confirm that. But I do expect Hannibal to leave. And I do expect Lindelof to leave. Of all the people on that board there, the two I would be confident that they won't be United players next season are going to be Lindelof and Hannibal. And if United can, on top of that, I mean, it feels like Casemiro's staying now, right? I don't think it's the right thing. I would like United to be able to move him on, but it doesn't seem like anybody wants him. So that's what happens when we give huge wages to a player who's over 30. Well, we get lumbered with them and we can't get rid of them. It's just another bad contract that we've given out. Pelistri's been linked with other clubs in Italy as well, but I think Lindelof and Hannibal will be the two that I have confidence they're going to go. And on top of that, you might well be looking at Sancho, McTominay, and Pelistri. So potentially another 5 players leaving. Another 5 players leaving? Another what? Maybe 2 new signings? Just get greedy. Let's get 3. You asked me yesterday, someone did anyway, what would need to happen between now and the end of the summer for it to be a 10 out of 10 window for me? And I said, realistically, setting 4 or 5 players, we'll just run through there, and realistically, signing another, in my opinion, 1, if not 2 central midfielders, and another left-sided defender who can play left-back and left centre-back, in terms of the overall cover that we want, that we don't have. Right, let's have a look what we're saying down here. Let's see what's going on here. Manchester United are interested in bringing in a left-back. Oh, I know that. Right. I know that. Right, let me read some of your comments out. And then we'll move on to what's our... Oh, yeah, this is an interesting point I've got next. Eriksen is gone since the Andy Carroll tackle. That was assault, not a tackle, man. He didn't even go for the ball. It's ridiculous. Kadioglu and Ugarte is a 9 out of 10 window. I don't think we're going to be spending... That's probably why I would, if you go back to the overall linked board, geez, lots of names on here. Kadioglu's on there. He's going to cost in the region of £30 million. I don't think United are going to spend that. And that probably rules us out of signing Hanko from Feyenoord as well. We're going to be looking... And that's kind of what surprised me then, that we've just stopped any sort of conversations around Hermoso. Because that would have been a free transfer. And that's what this final defensive signing is going to be. It's going to be cover. It's not going to be somebody who comes in as a starting left back or a starting left centre back. It's going to be somebody who could, if you need to, if your first choices in those two areas are gone, though don't really have, well, our first choices are already gone. Luke Shaw is already out. Mazraoui is already playing there. But I think Kadioglu is just going to be a little bit too much for United this summer, unless we go mega on the sales. They should let Amas break through. I saw people yesterday like having a go at Erik ten Hag. I'll be honest, I thought it was confusing as to why he wasn't in the City squad. But people trying to, Erik ten Hag, he'll always play his favourites. He's like, he always prefers senior players, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, honestly, I think if there's one thing you can't really argue with Erik ten Hag about, it's about how much and how well he's developed the likes of Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho. They were kids when he arrived. And they are legitimate stars now. I think he overused Garnacho. I think he actually relied on him a bit too much last season. Kind of needs must, backs against the wall. But that's actually the one thing that Erik ten Hag has properly got right. It's development of young players, bringing them in at the right time and taking them out at the right time. I think he's done that very well. And again, that's a reason why De Ligt has so much love for Erik ten Hag, because he helped him in those formative years. When you're... Well, I think De Ligt on the bench. I think he was for the Europa 2017 final against us. So he was in the first team squad environment at Ajax when he was 17. And then Erik ten Hag came in. And within a couple of years, he was the captain of the club. Within a couple of years, playing in Champions League semi-finals. He massively helped him in what probably is the most difficult years. When you're a kid, when you're a talented youngster breaking through into first-team football and coping with that shift. Garnacho, when he was a young kid, he was always the biggest fish in a small pond. Give me the ball, I'll do it all myself. FA Youth Cup final, to be fair, he was probably the reason why we won it in the end. 2 goals when he came off the bench. It was amazing. But at United, when you're in the first team, you can't just then, as a 17-year-old, take the ball and just dribble every single time at someone. Everyone's going to get frustrated. You're playing with better players. You need to get used to a first-team environment instead of being the best youth team player. And that switch isn't easy. You need coaches to help you. I think Erik ten Hag really does tick that box. So I find it weird that people are going to try and people will do it again. As soon as a youth team option isn't getting used in any particular situation, Erik ten Hag doesn't like you, blah, 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 blah. So, boring, man. You're boring. Just be better. Be better in your arguments. Come on. Let me see what you're saying in the comments down here. Amas has to get some games in the Premier League. I don't necessarily think that Amas will be making his debut in the Premier League. We've got the Europa League coming up. There are a ton of Europa League games. There's 2 more, I think, this season than before. The League Cup starts in, what, October? I can't remember when it starts. Something around there. We're playing there. FA Cup, that'll be starting in January too. It kind of feels like Amas may well end up being more in Europe as his starting point. But then if he nails it in Europe, could be coming in. And look, I'm not tempting fate here, all right? Just before I say this, don't have a go at me. But Mazraoui's injury record isn't flawless. And if Mazraoui's injured, who do you think is going to be playing left back? And Mazraoui will not be able to play, even if Mazraoui is our first choice left back. He won't be able to play every game. He can't play in the week and then in the weekend and then play in the week in the Europa League game, 2-3 games a week. He's going to have to be careful. I think Europa League is where we're going to see Amas's full debut, and I hope he nails it there and then gets his opportunity. Across the course of the season is when we need to see Amas's breakthrough. By the end of the season, we have to say this was Amas's breakthrough season, just like it was Mainoo's the one before when he was injured for 4 months and he didn't come in until November. And then In the season before, it was Garnacho's. I hope that this is Amas's. Or Ethan Wheatley might be an option too. Toby Collier is another one that's going to be coming through. But yeah, Erik Ten Hag doesn't know how to blood youngsters. Right. Okay. Simply because he left them out of a game for one game. Okay. Cool. Thanks for the conversation. What are we saying down here in the comments? I can't see anything down there. But this is something else that happened yesterday. Kind of went under the radar, right? Michael Appleton, currently the manager at Charlton, I think, is going to be coming back to Manchester United to assume the role of loans manager. Now, first thing to say there, another head coach coming in to Manchester United and just becoming part of the backroom staff. That's René Hake, leaving Go Ahead Eagles. That's former PSV manager Ruud van Nistelrooy, both becoming assistant managers. And Michael Appleton too. Now you might say that this isn't gonna be a game where. Sorry, this isn't going to be an appointment which changes the game for Manchester United, right? But I've been frustrated over the for quite a while, really. Type it in the comments, okay? What loans have happened that you really think have been incredibly positive for players' developments? I'll name you two. Axel Tuanzebe went on loan to Villa. Was it Villa? I think it was Villa. When they got promoted to the Premier League. And really developed. And Ahmad at Sunderland. Massively, massively developed. Those two loan spells really worked out. But I could name you so many other loan spells that just haven't worked out. Was it last season? Who was it that went on loan to Forest Green Rovers? Was it Oyedele? It might have been him. I can't remember. But that Dangor to Port Vale, like Man United shows that was the right place for him. Obviously, he got injured, which is a bit unfair. So I'm talking about Jesse Lingard. Where did he go on loan? Was it Derby? Where did Jesse Lingard go on loan? Swansea? Can't remember where he went on loan. But yeah, Hannibal to Birmingham. Very good one there from Neil. That was a really good loan. Beckham at Preston. Yeah, it's a good one. But you get my point. So basically, Dan Ashworth or more Jason Wilcox maybe, I don't know, have decided all the same. Dan Ashworth's got a close relationship with him. The loans aren't good enough for Manchester United right now. We need to improve the choices that we are making. So we need somebody to just come in and oversee the loans, right? Because the pathway isn't always there for for a first team player. No, for a youth player to burst into the first team. So maybe an ideal loan for a season. First of all, they go out and become a better player. And even if then it doesn't work out, you develop them, they're probably worth more. Lingard to West Ham, that's where he went. That's true. That's a good one there. Well done, everyone. See, that's why I asked community. But I understand the logic of this. And if he comes in, it will just be another former head coach coming in to work in Manchester United's new footballing structure, which would be crazy, really. But look, I'm going to wrap this one up for today. Last couple of minutes of the show. Please fire in your questions, any comments or anything you don't think I've really spoken about enough in the show, and I'll answer them in the comments. Dead excited about these two. Very excited about how this window's gone so far. My lunchtime video is going to be, right, what is Manchester United's strongest 11 then? We've got 4 signings in. We've made quite a few sales. What's our squad looking like and how good is our starting 11 and where are more signings needed? That's what I'm going to be doing in my lunchtime video, all right? And then later on today, might have to be a double drop day. Probably going to do my season predictions video as well, where I think United will finish in the league, FA Cup, League Cup, who will be top scorer, who will be best player, who will be best signing, who's going to be surprise of the season. That's what I think. Who leaves first, Sancho or McTominay? I would say McTominay, personally. I think that would be a simpler deal. Jason saying, why don't we use feeder clubs anymore? I think it was Royal Antwerp previously. Is it just maybe it's not as much of a thing in modern football because multi-club models exist? So instead of being feeder clubs, they just buy clubs. That's kind of seemingly what it is. Henderson, Sheffield, that's a good one as well as a loan spell. Illuminati saying, please upload the Ugarte video. The Ugarte video is sitting there in the background. And if it so happens that it gets developed, then we will release it. And if not, maybe I'll just show it to members anyway. Did a bit. Thank you very much, dudes. Someone complimented the video that went out yesterday on the sort of approach for Ten Hag. And also the tactics during the preseason. I really feel like the United People's TV for the last 6 months or so, all of us here in the team have been really trying to innovate with the content. And I think so many of you responded in such a cool way that it's allowed us to grow and do more of it. And I'm very proud of that. I don't normally speak about these things. I kind of keep myself to myself. Did I miss any super chats? Have that look down here. Coach Don, Bruno is 30. What are your thoughts on Xavi Simons as his replacement? Is Bruno 30? He's 29. Well, he's 30 next month. So he's 29 until he's 30. Xavi Simons, I don't think he's got enough in his locker to replace Bruno Fernandes. I don't know if there's anybody who has enough in their locker to replace Bruno Fernandes. Is it Florian Wirtz is somebody who I think a lot of people fairly spoke about. But replacing Bruno, I don't want to have that conversation yet. Alex, thank you very much, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed that Ten Hag video. And there's so much more coming. And you wait until you see this full deep dive on the transfers. It's going to blow your mind. Blow your mind. Anyway, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Much love. Drop a like on the video. I will be here tomorrow morning, as always. And I'll be here at lunchtime today. And you never know. Might be another bit of breaking news. And we go live as well.